code and it was like
Oh yeah.
the whole screen.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's awesome that you can do that.
It's that because I understand what it's asking to do. Assigning variables and values and
It's amazing the things sheets can do if
Agreed.
you know how to code it.
yeah, I don't even know how to code it, but at least I can understand what it's trying to do.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Right. Unravel it.
Yeah. And problem solve and you know what I mean? Because it really can't problem solve it.
I know. I was thinking it's just me.
I wasn't going to say anything.
All right, I got 5:30, so we'll call the August Silvio-Cheatham School District School Board meeting to order. All right, first item of business will be approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
And second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, the 5 school board basics. Go around and read each of them off. Put students first.
Follow the law and your own policy.
Respect the chain of command.
Base decisions on shared objective information.
Operate in the public eye.
All right, thank you. So the Sibley-Cheatham mission statement is at Sibley-Cheatham schools, we build partnerships to challenge minds, to invest in community, and to embrace life. All right, next up is visitors. If there's anybody.
We didn't have anyone turn anything in.
All right, next item is the new teacher introductions.
So yeah, we have some of our new staff here. One of our new staff, remember, won't start till next semester, and they're off currently student teaching. And then 2 had some conflicts tonight, so we're gonna hopefully get that to work out for our September board meeting. But we have 3 of them here this evening, so I will let them give the introductions. You can just stand and say who you are and what position you're in, and anything else. So go ahead.
I'm Kylie Parks. I'll be teaching 4th grade.
I'm Hunter Jensen. I'll be teaching 5th and 6th grade social studies and 5th grade science.
I'm Peyton Sauerbright, and I'll be teaching 8th through 12 ELA.
Cool, and we're excited to have them. Do you guys got any, nothing too challenging, but any brief questions for them, or just say
Now, where are you guys from? Okay,
I'm originally from Sheldon,
okay,
I'm from Ashton.
okay.
Worthington.
So
All right.
kind of somewhat in the area or familiar, however you want to say that. So yeah, and we have a few more that hopefully we'll get to come next month here when it works out. So we're really excited for the new staff we have in place. I've told you that in correspondence, and these are 3 examples. So we thank you guys for joining our team. We're looking forward to a great year. So
Perfect.
that's
Thank
all you
you.
had to do.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda items.
There's just a couple more bills. There's not just normal beginning of the year things. If anybody has questions.
Is there anything else, Stan, that you want?
I don't have anything. Nope.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add on anything tonight
Anybody else have any
with the
questions?
consent, excuse me.
Make motion to approve the consent agenda item.
I'll second that.
All right, so moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda items as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
All right, so the next few items are some discussion items. This usually I present in August, just to kind of attach and update the board on the professional development plan. I'm not going to go through it line item or anything like that. The one that's obviously year long is subject to change because obviously needs or scheduling conflicts if someone's coming in can happen. What I will draw a little bit more attention to is specifically for our in-service coming back here for all staff. We already did the new staff last week and you met some of them tonight, and that's why we're really excited about that. The full staff one starts tomorrow. I just want to thank you guys as a board for supporting us in those efforts. And at noon tomorrow, Arthur and Jamie are going to help grill out some burgers and hot dogs that are represented the board. So I want to thank you guys for allowing that to happen. We've had good feedback on that. This is probably I lose track of time, fourth year or third year we've done the grill out. Third year we've done the grill out. And so that's gone really well. So thank you as a board for doing that. And this year we do have, just through you guys as a board sponsoring this and other community members, like Sibley State Bank and Pizza Ranch, have meals provided for everyone each day. So I'm really thankful for the community support for that and everything going on. And that's all I have.
Okay. All right, moving on to 2-minute board policy and finance.
So as we've discussed previously, and we approved some policies over the summer in regards to different legislation from this past spring. Not that you can remember, because I can't remember all the House File numbers, but House File 2591 dealt with the 8th grade participation. And we approved that policy, the updated wording on that in, I think that was July, which I'll popped up here. And I'll show you how that changed, and then I'll show you where we're at. So we added the paragraph that it says right here, and this was recommended from IASB, with permission from a parent or guardian, an 8th grade student may participate in interscholastic athletic contests or competitions at the high school level. Those that participate at the high school level cannot also participate in 8th grade team in the same sport during the same season. That's according to Iowa code. Students may not compete in both programs during the same sports season. Any 8th grade student participating in high school athletics must meet the annual athletic physical examination requirements applicable to all student athletes. The superintendent, in collaboration with the AD, will develop admin regulations and procedures necessary to administer this policy. So that's what I wanted to show you, kind of where we're at on that. I wanted to thank Amy Elser for this. She's done a lot of this legwork in talking with other ADs and some schools on this. We've met several times on this, and this is where I'm going to say this is where we're at right now. Doesn't mean that we've, chiseled this out on stone tablets and it can't change, or that we can't learn because it's brand new this year, right? But in taking some time to see other schools that have already put theirs out there, somewhere in our conference that had maybe already shared things, somewhere throughout the state, and putting that, and then getting one that looks good for Sibley Ocheyedan. So, and like I said, as the policy, the AD and the superintendent do this, and I'm presenting this to you guys kind of here just for some discussion and keep you guys informed. The procedure establishes the process for 8th grade student athletes who wish to participate in high school athletics while ensuring that decisions are made in the best interest of the student athlete, academically, physically, social, and emotionally. So this is kind of what our process will look like on this first page here. Number one, it's going to come from a coach recommendation. It has to start there. And we're talking the high school / varsity coach of that activity. So an 8th grade student may only considered if the high school athletics, if approached by the varsity head coach. We'll have a process of what that looks like. They would then meet the AD as the first step and discuss that with them. If between those two they feel at least looks warranted, step 2 would have a parent / guardian meeting. So you have, just thinking of something random here, Arthur's the parent of the 8th grade student that we're considering here, then they would have a meeting with Arthur and Nicole on that as an example, or whoever that may be, right? And talk about why they believe they're ready, discuss the expectations, because expectations at high school activities are different than junior high. There's a bigger commitment, and sometimes maybe that isn't the best thing, but talk that through with the athlete and their parents and answer any questions that they may have. If the family's agreeable at that step, then it moves to the next one. Athletic director notification. If the family accepts it, the activities director will make a request to the high school athletics review committee. Who we'd have on that would be then at that point the high school principal. That would be Casey, excuse me. Amy Elser as our activities director would be on that, and then some other head coaches. And it says available head coach. So if we're talking, I don't want on a specific circumstance. So let's say we're talking cross country, then we would have other head coaches who aren't the cross country head coach. Does that make sense? So they would maybe be there presenting. That's what it says. Any member who's directly involved must abstain from the voting, but we'd have a few other head coaches on that committee just to talk that through, right? They would go forth, hear the evidence presented, and they'd make a determination on including these things, not limited to physical readiness, skill level, safety considerations, emotional, social readiness, academic standing of the athlete, overall best interest of the student athlete and the athletic programs. And then they would vote on whether they move forward with that or not. If they vote and that's approved by that committee, there's actually a separate, which is what the policy indicates, a separate physical form that has to be filled out, that the physician has to say this, in essence, junior high athlete is ready to be at the high school level. So they would, and we've shared that with our providers, that's from the state, they would attest to that. And then we have an agreement, which I'll go through in a second here, that would be signed by the athlete, the parent / guardian, the varsity's coach, the varsity head coach of that sport, and the AD. Remind them about the Iowa scholarship rule. And then the final commitment, step 7, I want to point out here, student athlete may choose to return to middle school at any time before competing in the first high school event. Once they've done that, you can't, it's not like there's a major leagues and a minor leagues and you get pulled down, and then you go back up, right? It's once you're on the high school level and you competed at that level, you're there for the season. So that's what that step 7 is, because maybe we went through the first step, everyone is agreement, and then you know what, the kid just decides, or the family, I don't know that we want to do this anymore. That's still an option, right? If we haven't had a competition. And then it just talks about some additional policy things here. Participation in high school athletics is a privilege, not a right, and the approval is not guaranteed. We wanted that to be out there so that we know that it's on a case-by-case basis. Each request will be considered on an individual basis. Approval for one does not guarantee approval for another or for future seasons. The district reserves the right to approve or deny any based on what is determined to be the best interest of all those involved, like it says, and we'll continue to review that annually between the activities director and the admin, meaning myself. So that consent form that I was talking about on step 5 is right here. So it's a participation consent signatures for, fill in the athlete's name, the student athlete's name, right? For whatever sport, and then the year that it is, they're signing it. The parents / guardians are, varsity head coach, activities director. They're all signing that. And then this is just some things that we've taken and filled in on some thoughts and philosophies and pointers from this that we've pulled from other documents. I'm not going to read it all. I'll just highlight the bullets. It's the standard for all 8th grade participants to participate at the junior high level. And then those are some of the things of why we would make that recommendation in terms of a coach. In the sport of football, the 8th grader must be physically developed, such as their height, weight, speed, etc. Reaches the requirements of that position. If not, we're not going to consider that. I think that's just a different compared to some other sports. In any sport that we're part of a co-op, if that comes up and we're not the host school, we'll follow or go along with the other school's policies. We don't have anything in mind there, but if that comes up in the future, we have that in play. There's a lot of schools putting that in play if they're sharing some particular activities. Baseball and softball will continue to follow that 8th grade participation rule like we've done in the past. I don't know why I just got kicked off. I'll pull that up in here in a minute. High school cheer and dance will consist of only 9th through 12th. There we go. And then in accordance with the Iowa law, they can only participate at the high school level or junior high. You can't do both. We said that a couple times, but we want to make that clear to everyone when they're in that so they don't get the idea that, oh, they could do the varsity on Tuesday nights and then the junior high on Thursdays, that's not allowed, right? I just want to make that clear. So that's kind of the document we've put together for Sibley cheated, right? Spent some time on it. I'm not saying it's perfect, but there was a fair amount of thought that went into this. So that's what I'm kind of presenting to you guys and making you aware of that. Any thoughts or thoughts or questions off the top? Yeah, Tom.
One of the items there, it says, you know, seeing if they are mature basically enough to do it. Who is doing that evaluation? Because you don't call that out. So is that gonna be the counselor and then the counselor meeting with the parents?
Which maturity part are you talking?
Well, it
Just so
says to determine like if they're emotionally and socially ready.
Step 3.
So who is doing that step? Because I would prefer, I think a counselor should be the one doing that.
I'm hoping some of those discussions would come at that step 3 when we have the committee discussing things between the principal, the activities director, and some of the other coaches and bringing it up. And that doesn't mean they can't use input from counselors or things like that, you know, and hopefully ideally our principal will have some of that input because he's not going to be a
Well,
part of that before that step, right?
right. Well, and then 8th grade, they have a different counselor than what the high school
Correct, they
does.
do. Yep.
So then, you know, would you want I'm just thinking for them to be emotionally and socially ready so they don't have any backlash or have any problems.
So some schools have put that on. That was a big debate of whether do we have the counselor on that committee the whole time. I'm not saying we don't have that right. We talked that through because we do have different counselors between the middle school and the high school. And so we left it at this. Like I said, that's why this isn't an ironclad. We did have that discussion. Do we want them on that every time or are we going to use their input? And this is where we landed. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but I think that has to be part of the discussion. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that would be good. And then down in like your different discussion items, you were saying.
On the end.
Yeah, towards the end. You know, if the participation numbers are low, we could bring 8th graders up. Are we looking at other options besides that as a district? Because I just don't know if.
Where are you looking, Tom? Just so I can.
Like where you said, it will be standard for 8th graders to participate at, unless the following conditions are met, high school teams.
Oh,
have
sorry, yes.
participation. If our teams are at low participation, do we have other options that we're discussing?
I think that's absolutely a part of that. That should not be the only reason it's happening. Because there's times that's going to be at the detriment of your middle school team. Absolutely a part of that. That's one of the factors, but that should not be the factor. Absolutely.
What about, so they can't go back and forth? What about after junior high season's done? Say that
Can they go up to the,
Yeah,
so that if they partook in the junior high season, that's the team
That's the
/ level they're partaking in.
okay.
So yeah, you can't
So take like,
go up or you can't go back down.
Yeah.
So like in those winter split seasons, that's the easiest example, basketball and wrestling, because in junior high it's split, whether it's girls or guys.
Yep.
It doesn't matter which one, right? But the high school seasons overlapping the whole time. The state gave us the specific example. So if you did wrestling in junior high for the first half of the season, you can't go up to the varsity for the second half, right?
Okay.
It's all or nothing, you're right. Now, interesting enough, they pointed out the way the policy's worded. You could say, hey, this kid is, I'm just making something up here, but they could decide in junior high, they're going to be pulled up to the high school basketball team, okay, which is all winter, but you could still partake in the junior high wrestling team. Girls or guys, doesn't matter, even though that's at the same time. I'm not advocating for that. I'm not saying that's smart. I'm just saying how it's worded, because you can't do both high school and middle school in the same sport or activity.
But because they're separate,
Because they're separate activities.
and that's dictated by the state.
Correct.
Those are
I am
the
not
rules.
saying we're hinting, I'm just saying that's dictated by the state, and they gave that as an example in an FAQ.
So even if like, let's just say football season,
Okay,
injury bug hits
after the year started,
after the year started.
okay,
You already had your junior high year start, and you had your high school year start.
Yep.
You can't bring those 8th graders up to participate to help fill the need.
Correct. That is how it's been explained to us. Yep.
Because I like just from a football I think we're only at like 40 kids out for high school football. It doesn't take much to hit that injury bug to where you need bodies.
Right. But that is how that's, yeah, that exact scenario, that's how that has been explained to us. That is our understanding. Yep. So let's say the season, that's why I asked if the season started, because it depends on the timeline, and both have played a game. Whatever level they're at, they're committed to that level, whether that's junior high or high school. And I keep saying high school because high school could be the freshman, JV, or varsity team. I'm not differentiating between that, right? On whatever sport.
So the other thing with this, the way we have it written too, the only way that they would, we would look at doing this would be the high school team has low participation numbers and to fill a team. So if we have an instance where we'd have like an 8th grader that could maybe outperform a high school kid, we're not just looking to move them up, correct?
Yeah, and that's, I see the confusion now. It says they must participate. We meant that to say may participate. I see the confusion, Tom, when you said that said they must. My apologies on that. Say that again, Jamie.
Like the B item.
When an exceptionally gifted 8th grade student can
Right.
assist our high school program with the approval from parents, it'd be a case-by-case basis. Is that what you're getting at?
Right, just because we say we'd have an 8th grader that was essentially better than a freshman or a sophomore, say runner, like a cross country runner or any position, I guess. But we're not interested in moving them up just because they are.
Beneficial for the high school level.
Yeah,
Right.
to take someone out. I don't think we ever brought that scenario up because I'm assuming. Yeah, I guess that would depend on what the recommendation for the high schooler is. I didn't talk it through that way, but I'm not anticipating that. If you have enough numbers at the high school to compete, I think you would want someone who's at the middle school, in my mind, that's exceptionally gifted. And then by pulling them up, is that going to hurt your middle school team? I don't know the answer to that. It depends on the team,
And it
right?
also
I'd be
affects your high school team too.
Yeah,
right?
correct.
I mean,
Absolutely. That's what I mean. Those all come into play. And different sports are affected differently, right? Let's say cross country in junior high, it takes 5 runners to have a counting score, right? Okay. If they don't, they can still compete individually. But there's some years where the girls or the boys, maybe at the junior high, don't have 5 runners. They have 4, right?
Right.
And I'm not suggesting this. I'm just giving an example. Pulling one up, does that really affect their team? That looks differently than when you're in basketball and you need 5 out at a time and you only have 7 out and you pull one up. Now that team only has 6, as an example, right?
Right.
And you're
That
probably
looks,
pulling the strongest.
and you're pulling up one of the stronger players, right? That affects that team differently. And that's what I mean. It's really, I mean, there's 100 scenarios to go through. So,
I think you're more like the high school kids, that they're not just getting discouraged, you know, and then
I think that plays a
you're
part into
compounding
it
the
too,
problem
right?
of people not participating because you're blinded by an all-star kid to pull them
I
out for
think I
wins.
miss it. Yes, I got what you're saying now. We have enough kids out, but we pulled someone up in middle school more talented and ahead of these 10 freshmen. So, okay, I got what you're saying. Sorry.
Maybe I didn't explain myself.
That's
very
my
well.
fault. I get what you're saying now. Yeah. I don't anticipate that reason. I'm hoping if we would have, regardless, if we have enough kids out at the high school level, then
We shouldn't need to pull
We
up
shouldn't
from
need to pull them
lower
up.
Right, and
level.
I think maybe we should, I think A says that, right? The high school team has low and to fill a team, right? I mean, that
and
to me is an
I
important.
still think we have to talk through if we would get in that situation.
Right.
Is that still right for
right,
us?
True.
And it might be, it might not be. I don't know. I think it's
Yeah.
going to vary by situation.
The steps have lots of checks and balances too, and input from a lot of people. So I think that would come up. You know, it starts with a recommendation from a coach. I think our coaches care about the program as a whole, not just maybe one season or one particular thing, but through the steps. I think those concerns would come out. They'd be weighed. The benefit of the program and the kids on the team versus the other aspects of it.
if we find ourselves at a district with low participation numbers and constantly going to this, it might be time for a different solution, which, you know, co-oping or doing something. So I don't know too many 8th graders that are ready for high school sports.
I 100% agree.
There's not too many Mike Millers out there that are 6'7" as an 8th grader.
We'd love to have them enroll here as well.
Any other discussion questions on this item? No, those are all good things. And like I said, we started getting caught up ourselves in scenarios. And then you start realizing you're trying to put things in place to address a scenario that hasn't happened. You're just thinking through, you know, potential scenario, the what ifs, right? And then but what if they do? And you don't even have it in mind. And so then we're like, okay, let's just pull out some of the things we like that fit us, that we like the most. And we might never have to touch this all year. We might have to touch it a few times and realize, okay, we need to tweak it. It's just starting out, right? What I will add, and I appreciate your feedback on this, and I wanted to present this tonight. Amy will have a coaches meeting this week, and then she'll go through this process with them. She has not done, well, we haven't had staff back till tomorrow, so hasn't done that yet. Had maybe some conversations to answer some questions, but hasn't gone through this with them yet, and so she will do that this week.
Do you need the board approval for what this says? So, okay.
Nope. Just a discussion item. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
All right, anything else? Okay, moving on to activity fund discussion.
So I wanted to bring this up and talk to this through. Kendra and Chrissy and I have had some conversations about this. And so I'm going to try and explain this and work backwards and then have a discussion on this. So it's about our activity account. Okay. So what I'm going to say in a second might be shocking, but you have to understand, if we look in the bank right now, our activity account is flush into the positive. Okay. So that's fine. But it's also broken out. We have several sub accounts, accounting purpose wise, within that. Okay. So it is flush. So last year in the 25-26 school year, in the general activity fund account, now it gets confusing because we have a general fund. I'm strictly talking our activity account here. So the general activity account started about $7,400 in the hole. Okay. It starts out at zero, but we've have enough funds to cover that through other special accounts, right? This year for the 26-27 school year, we're at about $19,000 short or in the hole for that activity account. Okay. And I'll go through and hopefully explain that in a second. Okay. The activity fund account, I'll use this ISFIS diagram to kind of support this. This is, we've talked through a few times in some different trainings, but really I'm looking at, if you look on the second to bottom, the student activities fund, and then they have the arms that go to it, and they're three, and they're like, what can fund that? So legally, what can fund that? Student fees, okay, activity tickets, things like that. Fundraising, okay, so donations, fundraising, donations from the athletic boosters, which I'll get back to. That's an example of that. Or I'll get back to some examples. Or gates of admissions. Really, that's the three funding sources you have. Okay, so that we're clear on that. And I'll come back to that. Our fundraising, a lot of our fundraising goes into our special account. So think of like if the volleyball team's doing a fundraiser, that's going into the volleyball activity special account, right? Or the wrestling team, or something for choir, speech. They all have some special account that they have money in, and then that money goes to just things within that activity, right? So we have a fair amount of fundraisers, but they go into those special activity accounts and not the general activity account in general, okay? So those fundraisers don't cover things like officials' costs, paying for our officials' registration for events. Like when you go to wrestling meets, often you have to pay an entry fee. Track meets, you have to pay an entry fee. Going to speech events, different band and choir events, yes, like marching band competitions, choir when they go to different local jazz, things like that. Those all have registration fees, right? That comes out of the general activity account, okay? Our general fund does reimburse the activity account for safety equipment. We usually have that. That has to be approved by the board once a year, so you can keep track of the cost for certain required safety equipment, and then the general fund can do that to help keep your activity fund flush. But as we looked into this, you can't make other general fund transfers without that specific reason. So as we looked into this, we couldn't just to cover the activity fund transfer 19,000 from our general account. Okay, we can do it for a specific purpose, which we do. Our athletic boosters in the past have given us $8,500 a year for the jersey rotations, and this year they did 10, and we're appreciative of that. Like, we use all of that and then some for our jersey rotation. So when I said we're 19 in the hole, of this past year we would have bought the same number of jerseys but didn't get that donation from the athletic boosters. Instead of 19 in the hole, we'd be 29 in the hole. Okay, so like, I'm appreciative of that. I'm not saying that, like, we are appreciative of that, and that's helped, and that's because our fund is not flush, obviously. So you're gonna ask now, what's the cause for the other shortages? Okay, so just in the past year, as an example, last year, and Kendra can correct me if I'm wrong, but Chrissy ran a report, we spent just over 22,000 in fees to officials. Okay, paying for them to officiate. Okay, so there's an expense right there. Money coming in. Okay, this is what I was getting at. You guys were asking me at the beginning. So our entry fee with the War Eagle is $7. So that's one of the ways we could take in additional revenue. We can't just vote on that. That's set by the conference for the year. District football is separate, but that's also set by the district. So those fees are locked in for this year. We have our activity prices that individual students and families pay for. That comes in. So really the third thing, if you're looking on there, is fundraising, right? And that can come in a variety of ways. We get that. I'm calling the boosters donations for uniforms from that. Typically, one of our tailgate meals is Sibley State Bank. And then the funds from that they donate, we put that in this account. Trying to think of some other ones that are obvious. Oh, the money we get from Iowa State Bank for touchdowns. They usually give us during basketball season, right? We've put that typically in the general activity account. So that's some of our revenues. So where's the discrepancy coming from? Now, I'm not complaining about this. I'm just pointing this out, so I don't want to hear this as a bad thing. But we've had some really successful programs the last few years. So I'm talking kids making all-state and band and vocal. That's a great thing. Like, I'm not complaining. Speech, state speech. Those are great things. Track, or excuse me, I'm going through the year in order here. Cross country. We had the cross country girls make state last year, and then several track kids. And I'm probably forgetting one on top of my head. Those are good things. I'm not complaining about that. But there's no direct revenue to cover that. So when they get sent to Ames for all-state vocal or band, or they go to Des Moines for Drake or state track, Fort Dodge for cross country, the travel expenses and the hotels just from that comes out of the activity fund. And for the most part, for the last 2 years, pretty close, we were trying to do an estimate. That's probably where most of our shortage is coming from, the majority of it. We are doing this as the discussion item. When I'm done talking, I want you to ask questions. There's nothing to vote on or solve tonight. And if we get to a point, we'll just say we'll continue it next month because we're not going to solve this now. But I guys want you to be aware of that. And we know just me and Kendra are making a recommendation to transfer money from the activity or from the general account to the activity account isn't an option. So we're just talking through. It's a good problem to have. I guess we'd be flush if kids didn't make state. So that's what I mean. I don't want that to sound negative. It's good. We want that. But sometimes when the superintendent says you can't go 3 nights and 2 nights and we get people upset about it, well, there's a reason, right, why we do that. And I don't like to take opportunities away from kids. We want that. So I've been, usually if the coaches and the AD recommends that request when they're going to leave, I've approved that. But you just got to understand the cost is sometimes their activity account is not flush. So questions or thoughts on that or any costs? We didn't know exactly what questions you'd have tonight. So there's some, Kendra has some information she can look up if you have questions. Some we may be able to look up right away, some we can't, but shoot away or ask some questions.
Jenny, you can do a mile run. We can just have you run miles.
And sponsor her
You
run.
can have Jamie's wife do it too. She does too, see?
So that's what I mean. I want you to be aware, and I didn't want to open up and startle to say our activity fund's 19 in the hole and go, what the heck? What?
Right.
Well, yeah, every month, if you'd look on the bank statements, we're positive, right? Because there's multiple sub accounts in there as well. And I bring up volleyball and football because cross country, they all have a little bit money in their accounts because that's the season we're in. But there's other accounts that have money in there too. So when you add up the totality, we're the positive, but we're only in the positive in that account because of those sub accounts. Is that special accounts we call them? So questions or thoughts? I just talked a long time.
What constitutes safety equipment?
Football helmets, pads, do wrestling headgears?
But we don't pay for those.
We don't pay for those. Okay. Trying to remember off the top of my head.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe.
Is it batting helmets?
Yeah.
But like
helmets,
equipment isn't
catching-
safety.
Catching equipment.
Has to be protective
Of the
Yeah.
student.
equipment that would be provided by the school. So that's where like the football helmets, pads, batting helmets, catcher's gear, that
But
type of
not
stuff.
necessarily stuff needed to participate.
Correct.
Jerseys, pants.
Correct. Jerseys and pants don't fall in that. Hence why the uniform donation money
Yeah.
in our rotation for that from the boosters is very helpful. Let's just say we had none of that the last 3 years. We probably wouldn't have bought as many uniforms, but let's just say we did. Instead of 19 in the hole, we'd be probably approaching $40,000 in the hole, to be honest. So that's why I'm thankful this is not a complaint on that. That's great. We appreciate that. I'm
What,
just bringing to light some things.
Like how much for a year do you take in admissions? Do you know?
Question.
Overall.
Yeah, just if you don't know.
Okay.
So while she's looking that up, yes. So like this year with Bound, we can still, as part of this, not directly, still do the ticket list, and you can buy your Bound app and things, but we'll have a cash option as well. But that all goes to the same fund, right? You know what I mean? When it's coming in, that goes to the general activity account.
But on Bound, if it's $7, do some of that goes to the state?
Some of that goes to Bound as a transaction fee.
Just to Bound.
Just to
Like
Bound.
the state doesn't take any of your admission fees.
Not during the regular season.
Just on district stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah. Postseason stuff, then the state's taking their cut. Or it's going to them.
A rough estimate would be 29,000 per gate.
And you pay 22 in just officials.
And just officials, right? Roughly. So yeah, just our gate coming in is just a little bit more than just the officials, and we haven't factored
And honestly,
anything
we
else in
really-
there.
We really don't buy that much. They buy, volleyballs, basketballs every year, so we have nice new game balls. Entry fees for
Contests.
wrestling, cross country, track. That's all of them. For the meets that we go to, a few of them, cross country and golf, we pay course rental for the
Yep, I forgot about that.
course here to host things.
But there's no gate on those, is there?
Correct.
Right.
There's not. Yep.
And that's a conference decision. Gate on
Cross country.
It's kind of hard to navigate.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to any cross country meet that's at a gate. Correct. It's hard because if they're taking gate over there,
Right.
I'm just making this up. People park on like by my house and then just walk through our lawn. Like, so then you kind of get the AD smiling over
This
there.
was the first year baseball had a gate, right?
Yes,
That was a War
and
Eagle.
that was a War Eagle conference. That's a War Eagle conference policy. Yeah, the Siouxland did not do gate for baseball and softball for some of those logistical reasons, but the War Eagle does.
coaching stipends paid out of the general fund.
Correct. Not out of, coaching salaries are not paid out of this. So if you're like, well, we should pay our coach. I mean, you're not saying that. I'm just giving that as an example. That won't help. That's not paid out of this. Uniforms, the equipment. Generally each year, you're buying a round of new balls, depending on the sport. You're buying a set of footballs. You're buying sets of boys and girls basketballs, volleyballs. What other sport? Baseballs, softballs, not as expensive, but we buy several of those. And would you tell me you ballparked for the football / volleyball and basketballs? You're approaching about 1,000 each sport just off of that,
Say, yeah.
which people don't realize, but that's roughly $4,000 right there, right?
Track, you have to pay the timing people.
Oh,
and
yes.
The timing system and the starters for that. Cross country, same thing. I don't know.
Mhm.
There's not, I mean, they're pretty just basic expenditures that we have coming out of there. So, some schools have gone to paying all their refs and umpires out of general fund because they just don't have enough in their activity fund. We haven't started doing that yet.
You can do that or you can't?
You can.
You can.
You can't backdoor it, so I can't go back and say, let's just make a transaction. We did that last year, but you could moving forward. We've talked about that. That might have to be a discussion down the road. That helps your activity fund, but if you have a general fund that's going down in revenue, did you
Right.
rob Peter to pay Paul type thing, you know?
And like the student fees, like you tack on additional fee like at registration that would get dumped into.
Yeah, if
Activity.
we'd raise the activity ticket prices, right? That's where that would come from.
And students, as part of registration, pay fees if they're involved in different activities too. And
Correct.
If they're related to the activities, they go into the activities fund.
There's really not many though.
Band.
The band rental goes into general fund because activity fund doesn't pay for instruments. There's a band uniform cleaning fee that really just flows through us and goes to band boosters when they clean the uniforms. We don't keep any of that money. There isn't really
isn't
any.
any
We don't have
specific
like a
activity
towel
ones?
fee or anything like that where we charge to be. You can't charge to be in sports.
Could you add an additional fee to help supplement it or no?
No, you can't have a pay to play.
Yeah, you can't say we have to make you pay to play
Well, I'm not even saying, I'm just saying
basketball
general,
or something.
general and just a registration fee, just not even if you're in sports, just a student.
No, you're not allowed to
Right,
do that.
Okay.
correct, yes. I'm not going to solve, and like, I know this is a lot to take in. We could keep discussing it next month and think through.
Anybody
Some
has
things,
some
if
great
you're
ideas.
thinking over the next month, some schools, I'm not going to say this is our solution, but like as some examples, I don't want this change, but some schools, like anytime they do any t-shirt sales, and we do a lot through the boosters, and I appreciate that. We don't have that coming into the general activity account. Some schools, all their t-shirt money does do that, right? It varies by school. So I'm just saying you could go to the school over here and they don't do that. And the school over here goes, yeah, we supplement our activity fund through all our t-shirt sales. Some schools are looking at now, we've seen posted. So like, let's say, I'll use track because that was the most recent one. So when track went, they'll have people volunteer and bring in like potluck meals and food. And then they'll do a community meal as kind of the send off. And then people give a free will donation towards the meal. And then they use that money to go in the activity account as a fundraising, right? To try and offset some of those state travel costs as an example. If we did that, do I think that would have covered the whole? I don't know. It depends, how much are you going to get from that? But it's a start. It's something, right? So there's a couple different things fundraising wise we got to think of, but also you got to realize when you fundraise, at least from my chair, there's only so many people and organizations in our community. And usually when you do that, you're asking the same people over and over. And I want to be aware of that as well, right? Doesn't mean we don't have a need, but it's not like there's new people to ask. So you're kind of asking the same people the same question again. So I want to be aware of that as well. So I don't have like solutions to this. I just want to be transparent and talk through. And I think this is worth continuing a conversation. I can put it on next month again. Give you guys kind of a month to think. We've been thinking about this a while, and you guys are hearing about it now, probably like brain blown. So should we continue it next month? Is that fair? Okay, let's do that. All right, principal reports.
All right, moving on to administration reports, principals. Mr. DeZale.
Yeah, so as I put in my written report, we're excited to kick off the 26-27 school year. Kind of view this event, the school board event, as kind of the formal stepping stone into the year. As Mr. DeZeo has mentioned here a couple of times, we do welcome staff back full time starting tomorrow morning. So we're prepared, we're ready for that, and yeah, just excited for the opportunity that we get to educate and influence kids of our community. So super excited about that. School starts the 24th. This week is an off week, but the previous 2 weeks we had our summer school session that we refer to as Jumpstart. We had a consistent attendance of about 32 students through Jumpstart. That would be grades this year, first through sixth grades, and students entering those grades. And so did a little bit of remediation from some skills that may or may not have been lacking from students in grades from last year. Tried to really get kids in the right mindset socially, academically, as we get ready to start on the 24th. So heard a lot of good things from staff again in terms of staying off of that dead week for Jumpstart. The 2 weeks seems to go pretty quickly, and the half days seem to go pretty well as well. And so, yeah, just a lot of excitement. It really kind of builds the excitement for the school year as we go. So it's been fun to see the building come together with the staff's use of the Flex Day. I've heard a lot of positive things. So from my perspective, thanks again to the board and to Stan for putting that in place and offering that to staff. It's been very well used. It's just really cool to walk down the halls and see, oh, yesterday the table back here had a bunch of curriculum on it, and now it's all put away and organized, and now we're getting name tags on desks, and just slowly but surely just seeing the building come together. So, and in that same vein, huge credit goes out to Greg and his staff for the physical preparations in the building that he has, the time and effort that him and his staff have put into getting the building ready to welcome staff and students back. So, professional development, I have a couple of comments in here. I'm sure Mr. Hertz will talk about this as well, but our PD this year will focus on, I think we talked about it last spring as well, but going to be a lot of focus on our curriculum development and mapping, making sure that we have, for lack of a better term, a hit by the bus plan. If something would happen to Mr. DeZale, could my classes still move forward? And so that's really what our focus is going to be on PD this year. And making sure the sustainability of our classes and curriculums are present for our irregardless of what might happen to people as we move forward. So also looking forward to implementing our classroom mathematics through Curriculum Associates, the new math curriculum we purchased, K-8. Super excited about that. Have some training on that Thursday afternoon for those specific teachers. And so, yeah, just kicking that off and looking for effective implementation there and seeing what kind of effects that curriculum has for our students and our progress moving forward. And then with the legislative items and some of those things that have been implemented the last few years, the MTS process will continue to be a focus through collaboration, especially in the elementary building, for working to make sure that all students are learning and all students are getting the academics and the support that they need. So, and then the final thing is our open house. Super excited for open house as well. We look forward to having students and their families join us on October 19 from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Great opportunity to see some of the updates to the building. The preparations, like I talked about, the custodial staff has made, and just to see how good the building looks. There's no feeling like a fresh, well done, getting ready for school building, in my opinion. And so it's really cool. I know that we have a lot of good updates as we go through. Staff will pass along to families, and I could pass along here moving forward. But that open house time is just an opportunity for us to really kick it off and connect and continue to build those relationships that are so critical in the education business. So I did attach our elementary schedule for the year. a fairly vague schedule, just kind of beginning timelines and some of those kind of things for your reference as well.
All right. Any questions for Mr. DeZale? Thank you. Mr. Hertz.
Yeah, a lot of similarities across our reports. Want to also thank the board and Stan for the flex day. I think it just takes a huge weight off our staff shoulders that they can come in throughout August, spread out their time, get their classrooms prepped, get some of the other things that really bog them down this first week taken care of, and they just come in, I think, just a little lighter with a little more energy and are able to really feel well prepared for kids. So thank you for allowing that. I think that's a great change that we made last year. So yeah, staff back tomorrow. I want to also point out freshman orientation is also the 19th, 3 to 5. We'll meet in the high school auditorium. So would like all freshman students and parents to attend that. Sent out some reminders today and hoping we have a good turnout. Last day to change schedules for high school students is Friday the 21st. The reason for that deadline being before school starts is teachers are creating seating charts, finalizing classroom setup. That it's very frustrating to them when the first week we're changing schedules. So class sizes change, seating charts change. They want to have all that stuff prepped ahead of time. So we make that deadline kind of that last day before school starts. Also, yeah, just grateful to our custodial staff for the work they've done to prep the building. I echo what Kent said. I think it looks great and it is a good feeling to come in. Clean building, polished floors, looks nice. Homecoming, well, first day of school will be the 24th, and I do have a schedule attached for middle school and high school at the bottom of the report. And then homecoming this year is October 5th through the 9th. So a little later than we've done it since I've been here, but gives us a little bit more time to prep and get the year going. So that's nice. Professional development wise, like Kent shared, we'll be focusing on curriculum. And yeah, the purpose is, we've had a lot of great teachers, and as they move on and retire, we want to keep the great things they were doing going here. And that means having a written curriculum that the next person in line can step into and continue versus having to create something from scratch. And there's been a few initiatives throughout the years. So there are things started already. So I don't think it'll be completely from scratch. A lot of staff will be able to pick up what they've started and continue with that. So excited for that process. Katie Schroeder and Barb Williamson do a great job with our mentoring program. So they've already met with the new teachers and started that process. The mentors have met with their mentees, and that's a great support for our new staff. I think we have a really good program. I think our new staff feel really well supported going through that. Interventions will continue at the 5th through 8th grade level, and that's part of that MTSS process. That'd be what we would call tier 2. So if students are struggling with just the regular classroom supports, which would be tier 1, then through a qualification process, they could get additional support through that tier 2 process. So that'll continue. And then students 9 through 12, some of that additional support happens through success. They can go see other teachers during some of our success time and get support that way. For our success program, again, that'll be end of the school day for students 5 through 12. Seniors don't have to report in person, but they still are required to do the ICAP, individual career academic plan. There's some assignments they have to complete, and once they've completed that, then they do earn a quarter credit for that success time. So it is graded, and it does apply to them, but we do allow them that open campus, mostly because it conflicts with things like school to career. They're already out of the building, then they may have to travel back just for a 20-minute period. So we made that change last year. Staffing, super excited about our new staff, and we're very fortunate to be fully staffed. When we were down at SAI, that was a big discussion among administrators, and we're pretty blessed to have all of our positions filled. A lot of schools are not in that position, so grateful for that. some other good news to share. Matt Vermeer applied for a grant called Credentials to Careers and was awarded that. So Matt did a lot of work prepping that, filling out the requirements, and was awarded $43,000. So throughout this year, there'll be different supplies and materials he'll purchase, and that'll be reimbursed back to the district through that grant. So gonna allow him to. The state's really pushing individual IRC, individual
Industry
recognized credentials. Yeah, thank you. Industry recognized credentials. So that's part of that grant, is some of those monies give us equipment and different things we need to start offering more of those as a district. So Matt took the initiative, did a lot of work, and this was his second grant he's applied for. We didn't get the last one, so I'm grateful to see his hard work paid off there. The last piece I'll talk through: every year we update what I call our 100% goals. So for the middle school and the high school, that's the 25, 26, 100% goals document there. So there's kind of three things we're looking at: passing rates at the high school, growth on ISASP assessments is that middle one, and then attendance. And so the point of the 100% goals is we're shooting for 100%, knowing that's a high goal, but we want every student passing. We want every student attending and not falling under that chronically absent umbrella, and we want every student showing growth. So that's why the goal's at 100%. Oftentimes we don't hit that, but I am pretty proud of the numbers that I'm going to share. So high school wise, in the fall semester, we had an 83% pass rate, and then the spring an 84% pass rate. Pretty consistent with what we've seen since I've been here. The real highlight is the student growth. So I think we shared this in our board reports in June, but middle school especially, but also in the high school, just a ton of growth on the ISASP from year to year. And that shows in these numbers. So 88% of our students showed growth in the reading, the ELA, ISASP, and 82% of our students showed growth in the math assessment. And then finally, attendance. We're hoping for 100%, and that means none of our students fall under that chronically absent. We had 93% were, I said, chronically present, trying to spin it to a positive term there. So close, but always more things to work on. So we'll keep working. The other attachment is the bell schedules. The bell schedules for our days. Yeah, any questions?
Did you get your ISAS scores back?
So we have scores. We don't have cut scores yet.
Okay.
Yep. So we still don't know where proficient and advanced are going to be cut off at yet. So they have it for science, but that's, I think, because they didn't change the cut scores for science.
Actually, just pulled it up and was curious as we were talking, and they're still not in there. So
So
That was what you were thinking midsummer, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Hoping to have-
they were supposed to be
Yes.
in
August.
June,
Yeah.
and then they pushed it to August, and we haven't heard anything yet. So, but
Gotcha.
you asked.
You are correct.
Yeah.
Supposed to have been by now.
Okay.
Yep. And
I forget a lot of stuff, so.
no, Arthur, you asked in June, once we get those, for us to update our reports and kind of share out. So, yep, when that happens, when we get them, we'll definitely share how many of our students were proficient, how many advanced.
Yep.
Yep, because that's good data for you to hear as a board.
Facilities wise, we ready for some hot days and air conditioning up in all the schools and
Say that again.
like all the air conditioning and
We are working through the issue at the elementary right now.
the other two schools are good.
Yes. Knock on
On
wood.
wood.
Murphy's Law.
Might hit some 90-degree days in the next couple of weeks, so.
Yeah, hopefully not weeks, like day. We should be good.
All right, anything else for Casey? All right, well, thank you.
Yep.
All right, moving on to Superintendent, Mr. DeZeo.
I'm not gonna add a lot of the things that I've discussed or I've sent you in weekly updates and things like that. We'll work through, Kendra and I have started talking about just looking at long range save dollar projections and PEPAL dollar projections and so forth. Some of the other things that we've picked up in different conferences we've gone to and using some of those things I was gonna say, although we did not have construction projects this summer, my notes on the bottom there, what I want to add, we did have a number of smaller ones. So we're wrapping up replacing the roof over the ag addition. So it's leaks, so they're hoping to finish that up by the end of this week, beginning of next week. It got delayed, but we're going to do a tiling. I think I talked about this in a previous report, but where the gutter comes out by the middle school entrance where the buses are, we'll connect that to a tile so that it doesn't drain out onto the cement there, and then they'll tile that. They just get a little behind, but we're going to get that done before this fall. Tiling there, and then drain it to the ditch. Finalizing some HVAC work with the geothermal loop at the elementary, and then the staging curtains and riggings that I talked about was going to be done originally at the beginning of August. That will be done towards the end of August into September due to an injury to the installer. He had shoulder surgery, I believe, if I remember right. So that's the reason that got pushed back. But those are all smaller things that should be wrapped up here shortly.
All right, any questions for Mr. DeZeo? Moving on to board committees, policy, finance, and facilities. All right, recognition of excellence.
So we've had our student representatives read this, but we don't have those in place yet. And so I'll do this, but just that we're turning a lot of work goes into being prepared for the start of the school year. And there's often people do a lot of work behind the scenes that goes unrecognized by others, or many are not aware, even though we recognize that here within school. So I'd like to recognize the following staff members for just getting us ready. Chrissy Ackerman, Twyla Heemstra, Amy Dykstra, Amber Voss, Jennifer Bruxford, Amy Elser, Ashley Hentz do a lot of the main work, the dirty work, the setup work for in-person registration, and then field a lot of the phone calls just for the virtual registration, getting students registered, and then collecting all the documents when people have records requests coming in and out. They take care of all that, so I want to thank them for their work. Our custodial staff are getting the buildings ready. A lot of work goes on behind the scenes, and then our tech staff for all that they've done to prepare tech things. Getting in new middle school computers. We've had to update some servers over the summer, some software packages. So they've had a really busy summer. So all those people that have to do this stuff kind of behind the scenes to get ready, I just wanted to recognize their efforts and thank them for what they've done.
All right. New business. Consider approval of new contracts.
Yeah, the contracts you can see there as presented. The two that I wanted to point out, Brisa Gomez and Kelly Greenfield, are alumni, former graduates coming back to serve as paras. So that's always exciting when, for some of our full-time positions, people choose to come back to do that. So we're excited for that.
So do we have any positions open currently that then, like, even coaching or?
Coaching wise, we do have a few openings
We
yet.
do.
So if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
interested, you can talk to Amy. No.
Okay.
But we do have a few. I couldn't list them all off the top of my
Okay.
head, but we do have a few coaching positions. But that's really the only spots we're open at.
Mm-hmm.
Make a motion to approve the new contracts.
Second.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the new contracts as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Consider approval of one-to-one district digital device program technology adoption checklist.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. So this is policy that came into place from legislation last spring. The policies were put in place and the exhibit was added as a recommendation for ISB. So Mr. Beavers is here this evening to assist with this, and the principals will give a little report. So what's supposed to happen as we have one-to-one devices, it's supposed to be presented on these topics, and then the board approve that annually when we renew the one-to-one. Since we haven't done that in past, yes, we're getting a new one-to-one devices for the middle school, but we'll do this for all three buildings. As of right now, my understanding interpretation of the law is anytime you renew that. So like next year, if we would update and get new Chromebooks for the high school as an example, then in the fall, since we're updating that, we would go through and approve this for the high school, the one-to-one device. So I've asked the principals to assist with this, and Mr. Beavers, our director of technology, is here. So it says, prior to adopting or renewing any one-to-one digital device program, the board will consider the following, making the decision. And then I'm going to have the different people present on these bullet points, and then what your recommendation is to approve. My recommendation is for you to approve our one-to-one digital device for all three buildings. So the first one, it talks about the instructional purpose of the device. So we're talking about our Chromebooks here, and what's the main purpose? And it says the age appropriateness of the device. They kind of go hand in hand, but the main instructional purposes of the device and the age appropriateness of the device. So I'm going to ask Kent to give the 10,000 foot view to those two bullet points for the elementary, and then Casey will do so for the middle school and high school. So Kent, you want to shoot?
Absolutely. Main purpose of our Chromebooks in the elementary school, we use them in different rotations throughout the different subject areas. For instance, in ELA, the teacher will break students into instructional groups, and one group will be at the teacher table receiving some direct instruction. One group may be working on individual activities that are related to the activity, and then the third group will sometimes be doing assignments, coursework on their individual device. And so for a 90-minute reading block, that each group might spend about 25-ish minutes on a device on programs such as iReady, the individual learning pathway on iReady for math. In ELA, we use Lexia, which has a very similar individual learning path, trying to meet students where they're at, to provide some technology assisted interventions, so that we don't have kids get to the goal is to avoid getting kids into the tier 2. Casey talked a little bit about tier 1 and tier 2. So those would be a lot of our teachers will also use IXL, which is another option and program to that provides support at a lot of different subject areas. So those would be the main uses over at the elementary school. And it looks a little bit different depending on, number one, the academic subject that we're in, number two, depending on the classroom, and how the teacher chooses to implement them. But I would say that would be the overview of how they're used over in the elementary building.
Casey, how about you for the middle school / high school?
Yeah, I made some notes. The first thing I wrote down was just to enhance learning overall. So there's a lot of things, research wise or digital tools that you really can't access in person. So I think of like a virtual tour or a lab that we may not be able to get the equipment for, or we have VR headsets. Those are compatible with some of the software we have. So there's just a lot of learning that can't really take place unless we have one-to-one devices. Another point I put down was just, again, digital labs, interactive games, and then customized learning tools. So that would be like iReady. After students complete the diagnostic, iReady knows specifically what skills a student is deficient in, and then creates a MyPath specific to that student so they can continue to practice those skills that they're weak in. If a teacher were to do that, for all 50 kids in one grade level, that'd be, an incredible workload. That'd be very hard to do, to narrow down to the specific skills. But through iReady, we can do that by just taking a diagnostic and assigning kids some time on that diagnostic MyPath. So the customized learning, and I think that's going to continue to grow with AI. The state's been pushing a program called Amira, which is an AI learning tool that does kind of the same thing, but then the teaching actually happens through an AI agent. We maybe had one student just to kind of experiment with it, but we haven't gone any further with that tool, but just some examples of what's out there. And then 21st century skills, so a lot of either life skills required you to be competent on a computer, or employability skills. So whether that's communicating through email or creating presentations, maybe it's filling out applications online. If students don't have a good understanding of how to access the internet and use digital tools, they maybe would struggle with that after high school. And we also host a lot of our classrooms on either Google Classroom or on websites. That's a great communication tool for teachers to share both with students and with parents. So those are some of the uses, and then apps that we utilize. iReady, FastBridge, are, I would say, required from the state because there are kind of our progress monitoring. That's not the right word.
Yeah,
Progress
that's right. I
monitoring
mean,
tools.
yep.
Quizlet, Quia, quizzes are all kind of in the same category, different ways to help students study or to give assessments. We also use Google Forms for a lot of our assessments too. We have quite a few students who access digital books or audio books through their Chromebooks. That could be for college classes or just free reading. And then other tools that we use, Minga for our Hall Pass system. We started that last semester. JMC for grades and communication, email, again for communication, and then just the suite of Google apps is pretty highly used, especially at the high school level. I think quite a bit at the middle school level too. And then probably some of the kids' favorite things, YouTube and Huddle. There is an educational purpose behind YouTube. A lot of teachers will send students to YouTube for different, videos that relate to the content. And then Huddle for our coaches and sports teams, they utilize that quite a bit. So, kind of an overview of the use and the apps.
So the third point to present or talk about is the content filtering limitations and the district's capacity to mitigate those limitations. How do we hopefully, as much as we can, keep our students safe? So I asked Mr. Beavers to talk on that. So go ahead, Tony.
Well, we have a content filter in place called LineWise, and what the content filter does is it sits between the internet and the students. So everything that they request or that they look at on the internet goes through that filter. If they're at home, it still passes through that filter. So we have rules set up to allow the elementary will have a different group of rules, stuff that they can access versus high school students, for example. They get a little more free reign, but any type of malicious content that can be accessed online, LineWise does a fantastic job of blocking that content. So we get federal money through a program called E-Rate, and part of that requires that we follow the FERPA and the SIPA guidelines to make sure that our students are protected from anything on the internet they could possibly get to that would be malicious in nature or inappropriate. He also asked me to touch a little on student data and where that's stored and collected. So all of our student data on their Chromebooks is stored in the cloud. It's all stored on Google secure servers. We don't store anything locally anymore. We stopped doing that about 6-7 years ago. All of our servers are now online in the cloud. So Google protects all of that data. It's all encrypted. They don't access anything without a very secure network. JMC is the other type of student information that's stored. It's all also stored in the cloud. It's all hosted by JMC on US-based secure servers. So the only way we can access that is through a secure connection on the internet. So it's I also consider that pretty safe. They're required to follow all the state guidelines for security and SIPA guidelines the same way we are. That's pretty much it. You have any questions?
Do you ever have students who try to bypass your content filtering limitations, Mr. Beavers?
Constantly, yes. Yeah, they're not a big fan of the web filter, but it's in place for good reasons, and it stops a lot of stuff they shouldn't get access to.
Sorry, I had to ask that question because I knew the answer. So, yeah, the reason just legally we're supposed to present those to you to go through the one-to-one digital device program technology adoption checklist. So that's why I had the principals and Mr. Beavers present on that. And then we can answer some further questions if you have those right now. But then what would happen would be that you guys are approving the adoption of our one-to-one device program for all grade spans. Even though we're only getting new computers at the middle school this year, the elementary ones and the high school ones are already in place. And so we're doing that for all grade spans. So questions about any of those topics or anything on that, hey, that was the time to ask, because some of the questions I wouldn't be able to answer without the experts sitting here. So. Yeah, and I don't have anything to add. So if you guys don't have.
I really can't think of anything either. pretty black and white, I guess.
And that company continually monitors like filtered stuff, or is that something you have to do?
Both. So they have rules in place that will automatically block things if it detects content students should access.
Yep.
We actually added a module last year called Content Aware that automatically monitors on the fly images on websites. So say they would find a website that had some inappropriate content,
Yep.
AI would detect that instantly and blur it out. So it does pretty cool stuff.
All right, any other questions? There'd be a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve District 1-to-1 digital device program for all grades as presented.
I'll second.
all right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the one-on-one district digital device program technology adoption checklist as presented. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of Visser Brothers Plumbing and Heating Pay Application Number 4.
I believe this would be the final pay app to Visser Brothers. This is for the middle school ERV project.
There's a little bit left.
I stand corrected. There's a little bit left. It'll be close to the final pay app with them on this. And overall, that project has gone very well. So,
Is it that one's completed then?
yeah, the main thing they're doing now is doing what they call commissioning work. They'll come in and
Oh,
make adjustments and do things that are above my head when they're looking at it diagnostically with computers, but it's been running, so it's up and running for a while now.
The question I had, did they have to pour a bigger pad for, on the bill, it says 6,000 for concrete.
The back pad here, if you look, you can see the piece that they added on.
They had that on.
They had, if you look, you can see the spot that they added on it, and it's heading to the south, on the south side. Yep.
Sounds good.
all right, any other questions?
Make a motion to approve the Visser Brothers Plumbing and Heating Pay Application Number 4 for the middle school ERV project.
I second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the Visser Brothers Plumbing and Heating Pay Application Number 4 for the middle school ERV project in the amount of $14,162. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Went on to additional items, next meetings.
So our September meeting is on the 21st, October 19th, and then I can't believe I'm talking 3 months out, and our annual meeting is November on the 16th. Yeah, so I guess right around the corner.
Okay. And then the IASB
Just
conference.
to put on your radars, they just started getting the information out. You might have even through your general's account gotten some emails from the Iowa Association of School Boards, a link in the website, and then I updated the PDF with that, but it's on Wednesday the 18th and Thursday the 19th, so just keep that on your radars. We'll have more correspondence on who's planning to go and whatnot as we go forth, but I want you to plan on that right now, or make yourselves aware of those dates.
All right, talking points. I guess I kind of enjoyed the Tony talking about the computer stuff. I didn't realize that was that locked down and what he does. So appreciate that.
I'm not supposed to add, but I'm going to add one. I like it when the new staff come talk, just that you guys can see some of their faces. So
Mhm.
I was gonna ask how many years last year we weren't full staff. Do we have some openings going into last year?
2 years ago, we definitely did. This last year, we had to maybe, for lack of a better word, scramble to fill everything more.
But was there openings that didn't get filled and then had to scramble to cover
No,
stuff?
we had to we had them filled by the start of the year, but it was much more of a scramble a year ago. Would that be a fair way to put it? This year has gone
Smooth.
much smoother, many more apps. Just it was a better. I don't know why, but it went much better. Good. Very thankful. Any other talking points?
All right. There'll be a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All right, moved in second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Off to football now, Elvis.
Yep.